So at this point in time, Battlefield 2042 has been absolutely bullied. It's been singled out as the kind of lonely, slightly overweight kid at school, and has just been relentlessly tormented about their weight, their lack of female attraction, and the big fat spots on their forehead. And rightfully so, because 2042 is a bit of a shambles. Today I wanted to talk about the absolute ugliness of Battlefield 2042. This is the filth. This is the unfiltered grime which comes with this game. And I want to start off by saying that by far the biggest issue with 2042 that has underpinned the entire game has been the developers themselves, DICE. Because when people think of DICE and they think of Battlefield, they think of the glory days of, typically Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1. And that's because those games were made by, obviously, Battlefield developers, seasoned DICE veterans. Something like 58% of those that worked on Battlefield 2042 joined within, 5 months of the project starting, something like that. Basically, the majority of developers have had zero experience with developing Battlefield games. They did not work on Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4. These are fresh out of the womb developers. And you will notice this in the gameplay, even from this incredibly compressed and 360p looking footage. You can see it lacks that soul which previous Battlefield titles had. So even though people like to bang on about performance issues and bug problems and balancing, but that's not the biggest issue, because at least with games like Battlefield 5, where it was marred by shit advertising, very questionable design choices with the constant changing of the time to kill, the don't buy it if you don't like it, the game was fucked, but at its core it was still Battlefield. It still played fairly similar to Battlefield 1, albeit without the atmosphere. I will say that 2042 feels like the DICE development team were trying to copy what the previous developers did. That it's as if none of them had ever played Battlefield or seen any Battlefield footage and were trying to do it out of memory. Anyways, into the grime of 2042. First of all, maps. Look, I've bashed the maps in 2042 so much, and rightfully so, because they hold the game together. 2042's maps are incredibly inconsistent. It feels like some of them were developed with, the old DICE development team, or at least a little bit of the influence, and then some of them were slapped together as either a battle royale map or some kind of testing map. That's what some of the maps feel like, specifically Kaleidoscope. I refuse to believe that Kaleidoscope was developed, for one, in more than a time span of a week, and also by DICE developers. It honestly feels like it was outsourced to some kind of low-key company, which, on the side makes like a couple mobile games or a couple, free-to-play Steam shooters with mostly negative reviews. But then you get some maps like Discarded, for example, or Orbital, which are probably the two greatest maps in the game. Hell, I'd say Discarded is probably the best. It's big, but it's not too big, but it has atmosphere. It has, a little bit of fog on the go. It has some natural terrain. Even the B flag has close quarters combat with actual cover. And in between this, there isn't just flat textureless triangles. There's actually, bits of the terrain that have fallen off. There's evidences that there is indeed a climate crisis, that there is indeed a war going on over resources, something which was established in the lore of the game but is completely unfulfilled. And this inconsistency is felt throughout the game, especially with how the game was established as this kind of dark and gritty take on the near future, with it being quite contemporary and almost like a social commentary on the state of the climate crisis and the inevitable conflict that will probably arise from it. And then all of a sudden this is all forgotten, like the music score is, in my opinion, actually quite good. It's dark, it's gritty. It always reminds me a little bit of like quite heavy and dark drum and bass, those kind of disgusting electric sounds. They're uneasy, but it fits what they set up. And then the rest of the game fails to do that with the specialists, with the map design. Just everything feels inconsistent, almost as as if they had this idea, that idea changed to something else, and then it changed once again. They essentially have 3 different versions of 2042 that they've kind of just stapled together using like bits of blue tack that they've like found off the floor in their fucking uni room, you know, bottom of their shoe, a piece of chewing gum. They've like stuck it all together. It's nasty, it's disgusting. Let's talk about vehicle balancing, and this is probably one of the biggest issues I personally have with gameplay, because infantry gameplay in 2042 I don't think is that good, because they want it to be like all the glory days of Battlefield 4 have rammed shitloads of vehicles into the game, yet it's still quite hard to actually get a vehicle. So for example, you want a Nightbird, one of them little attack choppers, it will give you a timer counting down to 0 for what I presume to be when the vehicle will spawn. It'll hit 0 and nothing will happen. Or you go to click on a vehicle and it backs you out, and you go back again and someone else had already picked it. The vehicles dominate this game. Because the maps are so open, because there's no cover, vehicles absolutely shit on infantry. And if you have even half a brain and you can, you know, fly a helicopter without going upside down or crashing into a building, you can farm infantry pretty easily. AA is completely fucking broken, especially the Stinger. Any kind of lock-on missiles will absolutely decimate you. Whether you be in a jet or a helicopter and you fly, I don't know, an inch off the ground, you fly behind a big fuck-off skyscraper, it will still curve round and it will still clap you. Same with tank combat as well. Battlefield 5 did it so well in terms of, you know, shells could bounce if they were shot at bad angles, and also if you shot a tank in the arse or the side, it would do more damage than if it hit the front, you know, because of the way the tank is built and the armor placement. It makes sense, it's realistic, and it makes combat that little bit more kind of meaningful. It's more complicated. Tank combat in 2042 is literally just whoever gets the first shot off basically wins, because you can be shooting someone in the arse and it will do the same damage as the front. Same with the side, wherever. Shells don't bounce, there's unlimited ammo, it's just cheesy. It doesn't feel like you've earned it. Positioning and flanking is nowhere near as important. Just so happens if you run into another tank, you better pray to fucking God that you got your first shot off and you can continue to follow up. Otherwise you're going to get decked. Jets as well can't do shit on infantry. I love Battlefield 5's planes, not only for the bombing runs but for the infantry as well. You can do a little nosedive in the Stuka, get that beautiful engine noise on the go and just tear shit up, and that's kind of the point of a plane. But you can't kill infantry in jets, it's physically not possible. I don't know if it's because the damage is too low or because there's 0 splash damage, but it's not even worth it. So jet combat majority of the time is preying on unsuspecting transport helicopters or other jets if they haven't been shitting in a bucket and a level S006 or whatever. Let's talk about specialists as well. Specialists initially don't seem all that bad, and to be honest with you, I don't think they're awful. They can definitely be refined, but there is most definitely still problems with them. I think the biggest issue comes down to the fact that even though there's 128 players, the same models are used, and it doesn't matter that you can put skins on, because there's only 3 skins available that actually make you look different other than a camouflage or whatever. Side note as well, what happened to adaptive camouflage? Probably the best thing in Battlefield 4. You put that shit on a tank or on your soldier and it'll adapt to the environment of the map. So you're not, you know, fucking around in a bright white ghillie suit in the middle of discarded. Biggest offender with specialists though are the quips. Those goddamn end of round comments, like what the fuck. Genuinely, I'm baffled what DICE were thinking when they put this in, because again, you know, you have a pretty dark and gritty lore established, you have a soundtrack which is again dark and gritty, and then you have maps which aren't dark and gritty, and then these comical one-liners at the end of matches. I don't know, it feels ridiculous, and it feels like it's pandering to a young audience, and maybe it works with a young audience, I don't fucking know, but as a 21-year-old man, it doesn't make me want to spend money on the game. It makes me want to punch myself in the dick.
That was something, right?
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
And as well, specialists just get rid of team play. For the most part, they completely remove team play. It just makes for this really weird experience that doesn't feel like a battle. It doesn't feel like a war is going on, like you're taking points to get a strategic advantage like in previous games. It's just a 128 player deathmatch, a load of fucking narcissists running around trying to get sick kills, trying to get a decent KD or clips for their YouTube channel. Specialists can indeed be adjusted. You know, they can make certain specialists engineer or a recon or a support like they have done already, but then lock some of the gadgets to those specific specialists, or even unlocking specialists as you go along. The only one I remember unlocking was McKay and the one with the proc sensor, the headgear thing, the Asian lady, I don't know her name, and even then it's only like level 15 or something. Like, what the fuck? I have to get 2,000 kills to get a goddamn muzzle break, but I can unlock every single specialist within 10 hours of gameplay. I want to end this ugly, grimy review by saying that there is actually a real Battlefield game hidden in this very sexually confused mess. And I say this because when you're in game, you know, putting aside the specialists, the game does have atmosphere, and I think a little bit of it is down to the audio mixing. A lot of it is too quiet. But then on top of that, you know, the battle talk which you hear in game is normal battle talk. It's not your specialists shouting one-liners. It is genuinely what we've been used to. It sounds like a lot of effort was actually put into these voices. It sounds quite immersive, almost on like a Battlefield 1 level of, you know, genuine emotion that can be felt. And then as well, there's the AI soldiers, which are, you know, basic soldiers with basic cosmetics, and they have the 4 traditional classes. And then on top of that, you have the Americans and the Russians fighting each other. I thought every country collapsed. That's the whole point of the no-pats, but no, it's still Russia versus America. The whole game feels last minute. Specialists seem like they were introduced within the last month of development to cash in on some completely out there ballsy move for incredible income. That's what it feels like to me, because when 3/4 of the game isn't built around specialists, you know, oversights like having generic battle talk, like having AI with uniforms and 4 classes, it's just bait that the game was probably built like that, but then had to change to fit this annoying contemporary Battlefield experience that panders to a prepubescent audience. But it makes no sense. Has never been the audience. Shit, man, I don't know. I could honestly talk about this for so goddamn long, and I might make another part. But look, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm chatting shit? Do you think I'm chatting honesty? Let me know, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you lot in a bit.